A Teheran, uno dei palazzi oggi più di attualità. Una targa inglese insieme con una araba ci spiega che è quella dell'Anglo-Iranian Oil Company. Intorno brulica la vita, orienta delle poste un nugolo di scrivani pubblici. Il versetto, se Dio è con noi, quale ostacolo può sorgere davanti a noi? Che sulla bandiera in albero del partito combattenti per il petrolio. Pronto sull'aeroporto l'apparecchio dei delegati per la nazionalizzazione dei petroli. Sono il deputato Macchi del Fronte Nazionale, il signor Ardalan e il senatore Martine Daftari.
Investigating American policy in Asia. Acheson warns that the Iranian oil dispute might deteriorate into war and defends our policy in the Far East. On a UN broadcast makes a surprise peace bid that's immediately backed by Red China.
The Soviet people further believe that the most acute problem of the present day, the problem of the armed conflict in Korea, could also be settled. This would require the readiness of the parties to enter on the path of a peaceful settlement of the Korea problem. The Soviet people believe that as a first step, discussions should be started between the belligerents for a ceasefire and an armistice, providing for the mutual withdrawal of forces from the 38th parallel. Can such a step be taken? I think it can, provided there is a sincere desire to put an end to the bloody fighting in Korea.
As the world capitals discuss peace, the fighting still goes on in Korea. Dutch and American troops dig in on a ridge as the United Nations blast their way into the communist Iron Triangle north of the 38th parallel. Then down in the valley, the infantry teams up with armor for the next push in the endless up and downhill fighting. As the infantry digs in again, U.S. Air Force planes rush supplies to keep the Allied drive in motion. Massed barrel to barrel, U.S. heavy mortars seek out the enemy on another hill. From the sea, too, United Nations firepower blasts the enemy. A medium landing ship, rocket-equipped, goes into action in Korean waters. Into Wonsan Harbor, far behind communist lines, the rocket ships pour a heavy and terrifying barrage upon the enemy.
He dedicates the Air Force's huge Arnold engineering.
On June 25th, 1950, 1 year ago today, the communist rulers resorted to an outright war. They sent communist armies on a mission of conquest against a small and peaceful country. A year ago today, Korea looked like an easy conquest to the Soviet rulers in Moscow and their agents in the Far East. But they were wrong. Today, after more than 1 million communist casualties, after the destruction of one communist army after another, the forces of aggression have been thrown back on their heels. They're back behind the line where they started. We are ready to join in a peaceful settlement in Korea now, just as we've always been. But it must be a real settlement, which fully ends the aggression and restores peace and security to the area and to the gallant people of Korea. We must be firm and consistent and level-headed. If we get discouraged or impatient, we can lose everything we're working for. If we carry on with faith and courage, we can succeed. And if we succeed, we will have marked one of the most important turning points in the history of man.
Mr. Jackson, are there sufficient technicians available elsewhere in the world, including Russia, to enable them to carry on?
I think there probably are, but I think that it would take the Persians a considerable time to assemble those persons, and I think there are grave difficulties which they would face afterwards. But undoubtedly, their main difficulty is the selling of the oil abroad. 95% of that oil is exported. I do not know of any...
Are there sufficient technicians available elsewhere in the world, including Russia, to enable them to carry on?
I think there probably are, but it's going to take them a long time, and there are many difficulties in the way.
What would be the probable effect in Persia of British withdrawal?
In my view, economic disaster. 95% of the oil is exported and sold abroad. I do not know of any country which has attempted to nationalize an export business of 95% of the product. The Persians think that by nationalizing oil they are going to get rich. Unfortunately, the reverse will be the case.